All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of Dearborn Heights City Council study session. This one is most specifically to replace the council vacancy for our former councilman, Ray Muscat, who did a great job on the council, but unfortunately, because of health reasons, had to resign. And this will take over his term through the rest of the year, all the way to December 31st. And what we're going to be doing at this particular point, we're going to be interviewing different candidates that have applied for this particular vacancy, city council vacancy. They will finish out the term, and then after that will be dependent on whatever comes up in the elections, in the general elections. The next council body will take over. What we're going to do, we've had a lot of discussions about this with the clerk, myself, and council members. We're going to allow each candidate 5 minutes to go up and speak, and I know all of you guys sent us different emails and information about yourselves, resumes, et cetera, we've all read them. You'll have an opportunity up to 5 minutes to speak to the council members, just telling us whatever it is that you want to tell us, your positives, your challenges, why you want to do this, et cetera. From there, I'm gonna allow, at the end, council members ask just a couple of questions to each candidate. I want the council members to keep that within limits. I didn't put any specific limit as to how many questions can be asked to each particular candidate. It is not going to be, because we've done it two ways in the past, where it'll be the same questions to each candidate. We're going to make it to where every council member can ask whatever question they particularly want to whatever candidate. And then from there, obviously at the next council meeting, we will be voting as to who that particular candidate will be. So, our clerk has helped out, like she always does, and helped put this together.
I'll pick the first.
This is, no way.
What are you talking about?
I'm smarter than that. Wait, hold on. So we've got the names to all the different candidate members. I'm gonna have Dave Herndon, come on up, from our local paper.
We're not even gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance today? Like, that's it?
We can do the pledge, but let me just make sure we have the right order first. Okay? So we're gonna have, Madam Clerk, you gonna write down the names, please? As far as who's first? So turn around, and let me just mix them up too. And we're gonna have them in this order because sometimes you do them alphabetical and different people like it or don't like it, so it'll be totally random. So turn around if you don't mind. All right, go ahead. So the first candidate is, here we go. First candidate will be Sue Kaminsky. Okay. Mix it up again.
Drop them, bro. You drop them.
Oh, whoops.
Drop them something longer.
I didn't say I was good at this. All right. Go ahead. Second person will be Rachel Lapointe.
All right. Seems a little rigged.
Mix them up again. Go ahead.
Back in the cup. There you go.
The third person
Yeah, I know.
will be Hassan Bazi. And the next person, Wissam Fadlallah.
The W is huge.
And the next person, Roxana Martin. And the next, I'm sorry? Yeah, I know. I didn't say I was good at this. Next one. I was going to borrow that thing from the lotto, but they wouldn't let me borrow it. Ahmad Al-Kabi. Did I drop anyone? Okay, next one. Will be Bilal Hamoud. All right, next one. Hassan Saab. And the next one. Denise Malinowski Maxwell. And the next one.
Really, it's like as if you went in alphabetical order, by the way.
Huh?
The names are almost in alphabetical order.
Zohair Abdulhaq.
See there, he's last.
No, we got more.
We're going alphabetical order in the front name. I didn't say,
Oh, front name,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, you're doing first names.
Next one,
I'm just joking, guys. Ned Began.
Ned Apigian, and the last one, I'll pick this one. Margaret King. Okay? So I'm gonna give these to the clerk's office, just in case we have to use them again for something else later.
Yes. Angela, thank you so much for the organic figs. Thank you. Dave Abdullah for the last city council meeting. So,
All right. So who was first again? Sue Kaminsky,
Sue.
come on up. You'll have 5 minutes. You know, what, with the council members that are here, no, let's do it then. Do you guys want to do questions in the
at the
beginning
end,
or
at the end, because they
Okay.
might answer their question, they might answer our questions,
In their talk.
yeah.
Okay. Who, wait, you gotta keep the time.
Who is?
You
are.
are.
But make, yeah, please.
Does he want that one?
But they don't know how to work it yet. You got those, time sheets?
I got it.
You got
He's
the
got
time
it?
sheets to give them? Okay.
Or
So you can give them a heads up.
Okay, hang on. Stopwatch, timer. We're going 5 minutes and 5 seconds. 5 seconds to state your name and,
Puts us
you know,
in
your
the second
address
hour.
if you need to.
Speaking as a resident or a candidate?
Ready?
It takes them a while, it's okay.
Mo, you ready?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm ready.
Oh,
When I
waiting
knew
on
that.
you.
Like a
Okay,
football game.
ready?
You're nervous.
3, 2, 1. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, my name's Sue Kaminsky, Amboy Street, Dearborn Heights. I am currently a candidate to fill the position that Ray Muscat held. And first and foremost, I want to wish Ray well and hope that he gets through his health problems. And secondly, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited at the fact that we have as many candidates as we do. In years past, I know we haven't had this kind of a turnout, so this is really a good thing and shows how much passion that the citizens of Dearborn Heights have. So this is great. I've lived in the city since 1977 and have been before this body since 1977. I've been very active in city and school politics. I've been a school board member elected twice to Crestwood School District and raised by parents who taught me that you need to give back to your community. And both of my parents were very active. I was raised in Inkster, and they were very active with the community. So I learned at a young age, 5 years old, passing out literature, that it's just something that you should do. It's your responsibility. And frankly, it's something that I believe very strongly in. I have been married 40 years. I have 2 adult children, Elizabeth, who's 37, Michael, who's 34. Both went to Crestwood, and both are doing really well, so that's a good thing. I've worked in a lot of different positions, all medically related, and was an office manager, a billing manager, and then worked as a implementation consultant, traveling all over for 10 plus years, which is why I had a little gap in when you probably saw me at meetings. I was out of state every week and did training for implementation for computer software in the medical field. So I'm used to talking publicly, and I'm really passionate about our city and its future and where we're going with the city. You've heard me before up here. The 2 main things that I think the city needs to pay attention to is the flooding on the south side, something that's been going on since I first started coming up here, and then to get our police force where it needs to get to be. They do a great job, and I'm probably one of the biggest advocates for our police. haven't had to advocate for fire because they seem just to always be on the mark as our rescue people. And I've only had to use rescue once, and that was for my mom, and they were so nice and so caring. So we do a good job here. I feel very strongly that the city has to look towards our future. And I know people are resistant to change, and it's hard to implement change. It's hard to get the phone calls when you try and do your job to implement change. But change isn't always a bad thing. It can be good, fresh ideas. And I think it's really important that we work together as a community for that. I've been very active with the city, so I know the issues. I stay very active. I know most of you fairly well on a personal basis, as well as professional, and just want to continue doing what I think is best, which is to advocate for the citizens of Dearborn Heights. That's it.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do, for those in the audience that are here for the interviews, during the question and answer session, by the council members, let's try to limit it to 1 or 2 questions, 3 if we absolutely had to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in reversal. At the end of all the candidates, I'll do it in reversal. Each candidate will go up. Some of the council members will have the opportunity to ask 1 or 2, maybe 3 maximum questions. For those answering questions, I'm not going to put a timer on you, but let's try to keep it to about a minute or 2. I don't want to make it where, you have to be done in 2 minutes and put the pressure on you, because these are questions that you may not have been prepared for. So just keep it as short as you can, and if not, then I'll have to give you the 30-second thing. But on the questions, we're going to go in reversal. So whoever was last, they'll be first to go up for questions from the council members.
We're not going to be able to ask them questions now?
No, let's do that then. We'll reverse it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Next candidate, Rachel?
Theater degree, I need props. As soon as you're ready, Mo.
3, 2, 1, go for it.
Hello. Thank you, Council Chair Abdallah, Council, everybody. I'm Rachel Lapointe from Merrick Street, as we usually say when we get up to this podium. It's an honor to be here, to have an opportunity to speak a little bit longer than we usually do, and to be considered for the vacancy on council. I've spent countless hours over the last month since Ray turned in his resignation, considering what to say to all of you, how to convince you to vote for me. But my inspiration for what I decided to present tonight boiled down to 2 things. The first is that today we found out that my daughter, Evelyn, was elected by her class to represent them on student council. The pride and love that I feel for her bravery in giving a speech, for her willingness to attend meetings and to sell scented pencils, all of that love that I hold in my heart, that's why I'm here. I want to be like my Evelyn. The second inspiration was a quote from Representative Katie Porter's autobiography that I read this morning. As she was discussing the work of Congress, she said, quote, "As I see it, the real work of Congress is civic education. Democracy only functions if voters know what's going on in their government and elected representatives know what's going on in their communities. As a Congress member, that means teaching and learning respectively." I agree wholeheartedly with her and believe that this dual role as teacher and student is the real work of city councils around our nation. The person that you all choose to appoint will have 3 short months to serve our community. Your responsibility and duty is to choose someone who can jump in and fulfill the duties of councilperson. I know that I am the best candidate here, who can jump in and be the teacher and student our city needs. To show you how I know this, I would like to briefly outline the history and progress of one of our current city projects. On October 14th of last year, we lost Joey Smith in a tragic accident. In the 2 months that followed his death, his mother, Katie, family, and friends collected 4,100 signatures, which I've printed out, to support Joey's law. They attended many meetings since then, as well as a study session. After reviewing all those meetings over the past couple weeks and the public comments, I would sum up the requests that they made to these: better lighting in our neighborhoods for visibility, and for the city to find solutions to slow down drivers, whether through enforcement, speed bumps, or another solution. Katie and her family and friends also asked to be included in any departmental meetings so that they can be part of this process. As I researched the topic, I came across a multitude of resources from the federal government, MDOT, private companies, and many more. One of these resources, the Michigan Safe Routes to School Handbook, outlines all the planning steps to form a team and to solve these very common issues. At the end of the study session in November, the consensus from council was to direct the administration to utilize our existing membership with TIA, the Transportation Improvement Association, to complete studies of our neighborhoods and schools and to provide council with a report and recommendations. Recently, we've received some updates. The administration did not present the requested report or recommendations. However, a proposal from Wade Trim was presented and approved at the last council meeting that outlines a 3-phase process. Phase 1 can now begin since you gave that the approval, and it's set to be completed by May of 2024 and will cost the city $65,000. Phase 1 includes 3 tasks: data collection, pedestrian crossing evaluations, and the crossing treatment recommendations. Phase 2 will include preparing the design plans, assisting with finding grants, and the rest of that section. While the details of Phase 3 are not in that document, my assumption is that that's the actual construction. Dates are not given for the remaining phases, but an optimistic estimate would put a project completion in May of 2025, 2.5 years after Joey's passing. I hope that that's helpful to the residents to kind of know where we're at with that project. As you can all see from my pile of reading material, I take my personal education and research seriously. If appointed, this is the level of seriousness that I will bring to every topic, even if the backup for a meeting is 500 pages long. I also recognize the limits to research and the need to question and rely on experts. But the duty of a council person is not just to research and tell residents what we're doing. I deeply believe that we must listen and learn from those in our community who are passionate and ready to work with us to make our city's future shine brightly. So as you consider this, you're gonna cut me off.
Just finish your sentence.
All right. As you consider who to appoint, I just ask you to think of this: who's the best candidate that will learn about what they need to learn about and who will help the residents understand it as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up.
Who's next?
Okay, so Hassan Bazi, one of the candidates, is not here.
What if he's on Zoom?
I'm not sure.
Is he?
Hassan Bazi, if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand.
He's not.
He's not. Okay, next up.
Hussam? Alala?
Hassan Fadlallah, please.
Good evening,
Good evening.
council members. Clerk,
When you're ready.
forgive me if I'm a little slow, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna give you an extra 3 seconds. Go for it. I'm just kidding, guys. Rachel, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I meant it, forgive me if I'm a little slow. I've been traveling since 4 a.m. I had a medical procedure for my wife in New Orleans, and I had to leave her
I
there
hope
to
she's
come and
doing okay.
attend, so, thank you. Honorable council members, my name is Wissam Fadlallah. I've been a resident in this great city for over 25 years. I served this community for many years on a planning commission. I'm a real estate professional with finance and economic backgrounds. I specialize in economic development. Recently, I ran for the primary election for the city with honesty, integrity, and devotion for public service, with a vision for change to bring our people together and bring peace to our city politics, thereby positively impacting and enhancing the life of our residents. I believe the most honorable accomplishment in life is to have the chance to serve the public in the most honest way possible. Although the results of the primary election were not favorable, I consider myself lucky to have won the trust of an abundant number of such amazing people. With that being said, the road ahead is wide open as the seeds for positive change have been planted. is I appreciate and thank Councilman Muscat for his long years of devotion for public service. Also, I believe it's my personal opinion, it's almost unethical to appoint anyone that's currently still running for election because it might influence the election outcome. That's what I believe. I do not intend to run for election coming up. I kindly ask you to honor me with the appointment for the vacancy of Mr. Muscat for the remainder of his term. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hold on, 1 second.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready when you're ready. 3, 2, 1, take off.
All right, good evening, City Council members. My name is Roxana Martin, and I have been a lifelong Dearborn Heights resident. I stand before you this evening to express my interest in the open City Council chair. A little bit about myself. I hold a bachelor's degree in science. I'm the administrator of a medical ophthalmology practice. I sit on the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Committee Board. I also sit on other boards in regards to ophthalmology, ASCRS, ASOA. I know that nobody knows what those are, but that's okay. Big fancy titles for a bunch of work and little reward. So I'm a single mother of one son who also resides in Dearborn Heights. He is now a homeowner. Yay. So some of my hobbies, I like to do competitive curling, so I travel around doing curling, and I enjoy classic car shows with my dad. So it's something that's a passion of ours. As far as community service, I try to be out in the community as much as possible. I do attend all of the senior events in Dearborn Heights. I also do a lot of public speaking. I am on the Cornwall Health Public Speakers Board, so anytime they need somebody to go out and talk about eye health and things like that, I'm there. And I also do a lot of volunteer work with citizens. I donate my time at several community retirement centers. I go in and do presentations. We do ophthalmology Jeopardy. We do all kinds of good stuff. Although I've never held any city political role, I believe that my past background will show you that I would be an excellent choice. I'm hardworking. I'm driven. I'm an individual that's not afraid to face a challenge. I'm passionate not only about my work, but I'm passionate about the city that I live in. Again, I've been here all my life. It's changing, and I'm looking forward to the changes in the future. I describe myself as an open, honest person. I don't believe in misleading other people. I pride myself on being a constant learner. I'm always proactive about seeking new opportunities to develop and grow in my role. These opportunities could be in the form of training, medical conferences, just listening to somebody speak as I'm learning about other people here, or taking on a new project. I'm confident. I'm a confident individual. I'm mature, I'm candid, and I'm a transparent individual who values integrity. My confidence in myself is a reason that other people tend to come to me for advice, even if I'm not in a leadership role. I may not always have the answers, but trust me, I'm going to research and I'm going to point you in the right direction. I have a keen ability to listen to others. It's important to me that the citizens are given time to be heard. I truly believe it's all about listening to what they have to say. If we can't listen, we can't formulate a fair, proper plan. As a recap, I'm an accomplished leader with great communication and analytical skills. I bring a strong work ethic. I'm dependable, reliable, and I have a great personality. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me tonight. I truly look forward to the opportunity to possibly work with each of you individually and as a group. I look forward to being able to enhance the great work that the current City Council Board is doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
You definitely have your public speaking on lock.
That was wonderful. Hard to follow.
Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, I'm gonna give you extra 2 seconds. Go for it.
Sounds good. Council members, fellow residents here and at home, thank you for allowing me to address you tonight. My name is Ahmed Al-Kabi, and it is an honor to stand before you seeking this appointment today. First and foremost, I would like to express my deep gratitude for Councilman Ray Muscat for his years of service to Dearborn Heights. His loud but passionate approach has left an indelible mark, and we owe him a debt of gratitude for his unwavering commitment. For the past 15 years, my family and I have called Dearborn Heights home. We sought refuge from the turmoil of war and persecution in Iraq, and were able to call Dearborn Heights our home. It was here in this welcoming community that we were able to find safety, opportunity, and a place to plant our roots. I attended middle school and high school here, founded a nonprofit organization to help underprivileged students receive scholarships, worked with many different organizations, coached my high school soccer team, and was able to seek a bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan Dearborn in political science and sociology. With over a decade of organizing and legislative experience, my journey has been defined by a deep commitment of service and advocacy. I have dedicated the last decade of my life to understanding the intricacies of government and legislative processes, equipping me with a wealth of knowledge and a skill set that I am eager to bring to our city. My journey here has taken me into the world of government, where I had the privilege to work on both the state and federal level. In the hallowed halls of our state capitol and in the esteemed office of Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, I witnessed firsthand the power of policymaking, the importance of representation, and the impact that government can have on people's lives. The unique blend of grassroots organizing and legislative experience positioned me to be an effective advocate for Dearborn Heights. I understand the intricacies of policymaking, the importance of collaboration, and the need for innovative solutions to address the challenges facing our city. My years of experience have honed my ability to bridge the gap between government and the people that it serves, and I am eager to leverage this experience to propel our city forward. Over the years, I have built an extensive network of relationships with elected officials and stakeholders across our city. These relationships will be instrumental in our effort to address the challenges and potential opportunities facing our city. Whether it's collaborating with local municipalities regarding the Ecorse Creek, whether securing funding for critical infrastructure projects, or advocating for policy changes that benefit our community, the breadth and depth of my network will be a powerful asset to our city. At its core, public service is about working together. And these relationships will enable me to bring a diverse set of voices and expertise to the table. You know, I am not here to claim that I have all the answers or have the key to the success of our city, but instead I offer myself as a dedicated collaborator, an independent voice, and as someone who is willing to work closely with both administration and council to address the pressing issues facing our city. Now more than ever, we need leaders who can bridge the divides, foster unity, and channel the collective energies of our community towards positive change. Since the beginning of my campaign, we've knocked over 5,000 doors across our city and launched a survey to identify the key issues facing our community. It is clear, as Dearborn Heights celebrates its 60th anniversary, we still are faced with challenges that require bold and innovative solutions. On day one, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and work tirelessly to push our city forward. Once again, thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thank you. Good job, Ahmed.
Next up.
Mr. Hammoud.
Hello. It's good to see you all.
3, 2, 1, take off.
Hello, everyone. Council members, residents of the city. My name is Bilal Hammoud, Outer Drive, and I stand before you as a proud, lifelong resident of Dearborn Heights, deeply committed to our city's future. Starting off, I want to share that I'm here because I believe in the power of public service. I believe that through collaboration, we can meet the needs of Dearborn Heights and make it an even better place to live, work, and raise our families. I'm here because I believe in our community. I know that Dearborn Heights is the best place to live because I've lived here my whole life. I've had the privilege of witnessing the strength and resilience of our residents, but ultimately I see the potential for growth, and there is room for us to grow. In my previous work experience, I've seen that public service is critical and community involvement is necessary in order to get the work done. And so involving the residents throughout this process is going to be of the utmost importance. Now, I've worked with state government, city government, and municipalities across Michigan. And I not only want to share that network that I've built with the city, but additionally bring the best practices that I've seen implemented across our state to Dearborn Heights. In my previous work experience, I've specialized in entering spaces that are looking for innovation, that are looking for new ideas, and trying to connect spaces that are siloed. State government gets siloed, and it gets down even to the city level. So it's my goal to connect these different spaces. I believe that this role requires three things: time, dedication, and institutional knowledge, and the willingness to collaborate and innovate. Now, I want to say that I'm fortunate enough to work remotely, and so a majority of the work that I'm going to share that I do in this city is voluntary. I serve on the board of the Islamic House of Wisdom. I serve on the Dearborn Heights Rotary Board. I serve on the CSIS board, which treats residents that don't have insurance. I try to find ways to collaborate with different community organizations because I know that's where the power is and that's where we can be most effective. I also have the fortune of working with the Dearborn Heights Model United Nations, a student group between all the different school districts, and helped lead them to go to Harvard last year so that they could compete, bring back awards, and get a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I ran for office last year because I wanted to serve this community in a greater capacity. It's why I continue to work on projects like the upcoming senior celebration, working on translating documents, critical documents, with the fire department into multiple languages so that the city of Dearborn Heights could be more accessible in emergency services. It's why I do volunteer work with the Dearborn Heights Rotary. It's why I host community cleanup projects, and I'm always out at the different community events that are ongoing. I'm passionate about this because ultimately this role is a brief one. And there's only so much someone can offer in a 4-month period. And I'd like to bring my perspective, my experience, and my resources to the city. So ultimately, why me? I am a lifelong public servant. I come from a background in academia, so I want to take a data-driven approach to leadership. I have a deep familiarity with the city, its ongoing projects, its leadership, and how a board functions. I have a certificate in Robert's Rules of Order, which I think is beneficial to have entering a space like this. I serve on multiple nonprofit boards and university boards, and so bringing that experience here is something I'm excited to do. It's my goal to underpromise and overdeliver, to lead with transparency and honesty, and ultimately, I believe that with such a short term, in order to be effective in this role, the onboarding process needs to be as short as possible. And so coming with that knowledge of the ongoing projects and this experience, I'm hoping to shorten that as much as I can so that we can be productive and effective in this short time. I stand before you today as someone who is deeply passionate and committed to the future of our city. I want to thank you all for your time and consideration. And if there are any questions you have or any follow-ups that you might have, please feel free to reach out. You have my contact information. To close, I want to spend the next few months being productive, effective, and ultimately a resource to the residents and to the council members I hope to serve alongside. So I look forward to hearing the results, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve this community in whatever capacity I can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I will admit, Bilal, you are almost at every single event. Mr. Saab, let me know when you're ready.
Ready when you are.
3, 2, 1, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Extra second for you today, buddy.
Thank you. Pleasure. Good evening, honorable body. Thank you for having us here to listen to all the candidates. You know, I'm speaking as a candidate as we enter the general election. First and foremost, I want to thank Ray Muscat for his years of service and dedication. He was probably one of the most outspoken people on city council and was straightforward. I wish him great health and a great retirement for him and his wife and kids. My name is Hassan Saab. I live on John Daly, and I'm here to express my strong interest in the appointment to serve as a member of the City Council. It was with great interest that I offer my candidacy for this important role and my qualification, dedication, and vision to make for you guys to make a suitable choice. My purpose is to continue serving the citizens of Dearborn Heights and communications between residents in our city and how the city can grow and advance. You know, all Dearborn Heights residents deserve suitable roads, safe and maintained neighborhoods, and the security to peacefully enjoy our homes without constant flooding and infrastructure concerns. I bring a positive wealth of experience in civic engagement and community leadership. Over the past 6 years, I have been to every single council meeting, numerous community organizations, including the Planning Commission, which now I chair. We sit there, you know, talk with diverse groups to address critical social local issues that there's a gap in between in the city and the divide in the city. My educational background in engineering and construction equips me with the analytics and decision-making skills necessary to make informed decisions for our city. My deep-rooted commitment to our community is a driving force behind my desire to serve on City Council. Having lived in the city for 11 years, I have witnessed the growth, its challenges, and its incredible potential ahead of us. I have actively engaged with our residents, attending town hall meetings, city council meeting, neighborhood association, listening session, allowing me to gain firsthand knowledge of concerns and aspiration. I'm driven by a vision of our city as a vibrant city, inclusive and suitable place where every resident can thrive. As a city council member, I will prioritize initiatives that address public safety, better equipment for our police officers, our firefighters, better infrastructure, deal with our flooding issue that have so many residents have been promised for decades, and just put a Band-Aid on it, the blight in our city, better and safe parks for the children, and working with fellow council members and city staff to implement practical solutions. I am dedicated to transparency, accountability, and open communication, ensuring that all our residents are informed and heard throughout the decision-making process. I believe I should be appointed to City Council because I have the qualities and to positively impact our community. My record of accomplishment of leadership, my passion for public service, and my ability to bring people together to find common ground make me an ideal candidate. I'm committed to working tirelessly to represent the best interests for our residents and to contribute to the growth and prosperity of our city. As a member of City Council, I will be committed to supporting our first responders again in public safety, strengthening our ongoing improvements to city infrastructure, which has deteriorated for decades, reinforcing ordinance initiatives and improved maintenance in our neighborhoods, encouraging new economic development, something we do not have in the city as manufacturing or any type of, you know, big companies working in the city, while we support our local businesses throughout the city, enhancing communication among city council members and putting the needs of our residents first, supporting efforts to secure funding for major projects including roads, parks, and storm infrastructure, the Ecorse Creek River. That's something that's a very hot topic on all residents. It's something that's got to be addressed. My first goal would be to push for a grant writer and lobbyist for the city. And when we speak at Dearborn, when we speak as a Dearborn Heights is Dearborn Heights. There's no South End, there's no North End. We represent Dearborn Heights as one. And I hope we can, I hope if I'm put on council, we can bring that gap and divide to one city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, Denise.
Seems strange to be on this side of the council table.
Let me know when you're ready and we can go ahead and start this little fiasco real quick. You ready?
Go ahead.
3, 2, 1, take off.
Good evening, Dearborn Heights City Council. My name is Denise Malinowski Maxwell. As you know, I'm a lifelong resident. I graduated from Crestwood, and my heart is in this community. I am here tonight to ask you to appoint me to the vacant position for City Council left by Councilman Ray Muscat. It's sad that his health issues did not allow him to finish out his term. The position for City Council should not be taken lightly. As you know, my past experience, I was a councilwoman and council chair. A lot happens behind the scenes that the public doesn't even realize to bring the meeting in front of everybody. There's a lot of prep work done by everyone. You need to know what you're reading when you look at the council agenda and make sure it follows the charter rules before you approve it. The city council packet contains a lot of information, and sometimes you need to make a few calls to make sure everything is correct. I know my resume was short, but at this point in time, it really didn't matter that I've retired from AT&T or went to Medina University or volunteered in the community since I was 5. Today, my experience lies solely from being on the actual city council. Choosing me as council replacement will ensure that the transition will go very smoothly. I'm very familiar with Robert's Rules of Order and how the meeting is run. And of course, you know that I'm also very, very familiar with the charter. When I was on city council, I read that thoroughly from front to back at least once a week. It's an important part of our city. The replacement is only for a few months. Since it is only a temporary position, it would be wise to put someone in who is well-versed on how the city is run. It's not fair to the residents to put an inexperienced person in the position temporarily. Unless you've been on city council, you will not understand the dynamics on how city council operates. Many new council members had to be mentored by other city council members to be brought up to speed. We've all been there. And I personally have served on different boards and commissions over the years. I also attended many city council meetings, but nothing could have prepared me for how city council operates. Choosing an inexperienced person could be unproductive. City council is an important part of our city. Also consider the recent election where the residents made their top choices known. To ignore the residents would be wrong. They took the time and effort to fill out absentee ballots and personally show up at the polls. As I stand before you tonight, I once again ask you for the support in appointing me to the vacant city council position. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. Mr. Abdulhak, you do not have to state your entire address.
35. Good evening. 354 Rosemary. Before David asks.
It's the clerk, it's not me.
I apologize.
It's really him, by the way. The clerk doesn't even have the point.
I'm here without my jacket because it had lots of money and my wife took it to go shopping. So forgive me.
All right, you ready?
Including the jacket.
Oh, this class got to start. We're gonna wipe off a couple of minutes. I'm just joking. 3, 2, 1, go for it. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody. And I thank everyone who applied. That makes me so happy to see more people interested, because before we used to recruit people and beg people to come and run for city council or school board. I remember when nobody wanted to serve. But I am happy that every qualified person is here applying for this job. And I'll be just very short and brief. My name is Zuhair Abdelhak. I live on 354 Rosemary, Dearborn Heights. 32 years resident in Dearborn Heights. I served on Housing Commission previously. I served on Zoning Board of Appeal. I got appointed by this honorable council to be a treasurer, interim treasurer for 4 months. And again, I got appointed for 1 year to the city council. With my experience of many, many years attended the city council and knowing the chart and knowing every ins and out in the city, that put me in a very good position to be a fit in immediately for this position. And I just want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity and hope to be serving with you very soon. Thank you.
Next up,
Is it Ned?
Ned,
Mr. Pegan,
come on up.
got the $1 million suit and tie on. Let's do this.
This is a special occasion.
3, 2, 1, take off.
Good evening, Council Chair, Council members, candidates for the office, and the residents of the city. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York. I moved to Michigan to attend school and never left. Something about my personal life. I'm married 59 years to the same woman. I was blessed only with one child who is 58 years old, but thank God she gave us 4 grandchildren, ages 20, 23, 27, and 30. Thank God for small favors. And they're all in Massachusetts, along with our former Massachusetts counselor. Something about myself, education. I have earned 2 associate's degrees from Henry Ford Community College, one in science and one in liberal arts. I ended up going to the University of Detroit. I earned my bachelor's degree in architecture and a master's degree in urban planning from Wayne State University. Something about my professional background. I am licensed by the state of Michigan in 3 different disciplines. I am a licensed architect, I am a licensed professional community planner, and a licensed builder. This background is very useful to be on the council because cities are composed of the problems architecture and planning deal with. I understand them and know them well. Other things about myself. I am perhaps the only veteran here. I'm a former United States Marine, and I was younger then. Better looking, too. More importantly, not as important, but I'm a volunteer at the Henry Ford Community College radio program for more than 10 years. I don't do music. I usually only do news shows. I am, by nature, a public speaker, and doing the radio is something of very great interest to me and a lot of fun. I like interviewing politicians, and I'm more interested in history, how history affects current events. I had a program like that. I'm a former council member. I've been elected to this body twice in a special election and a 4-year term. In fact, Ray Muscat took my seat. He defeated me 8 years ago. I am the best qualified person because I know this job. I know what it does. I know what it can't do. I know what it shouldn't do. And I know I have ideas of what it could do. I don't need a training in period. I think that the most important thing is candidates for election should not be appointed by this council. It shows favoritism. They're going to run for election in 7 weeks anyway, and I'm going to vote for all the experienced ones myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Here we have, ladies and gentlemen, our very own Margaret King. 5 minutes, 7 seconds. Nobody's gotten that yet. Hands rough.
Margaret,
Ready?
yeah.
3, 2, 1, take off.
Okay. Margaret King, Mayfair Street, Dearborn Heights. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you today as a candidate for City Council vacancy position. I am committed to making our city safer, more resilient, and more attractive place to live, work, and raise family. Today, I want to share with you my 3 stance on 3 critical issues: school safety, reoccurring residential flooding, and blight in our community. Number 1, ensuring the safety of our children is a top priority for me. Our school zones should be a place where parents can feel confident to leave their children that are protected. I propose implementing the following measures: enhanced crosswalk signs. We need well-marked crosswalks, clear signage, alert drivers to slow down and watch for pedestrians. Speed bumps and traffic calming measures. I support the installation of speed humps and other traffic calming measures to reduce speeding in the school zones. Educational initiatives must be invest in our educational programs to raise awareness among both drivers, students, and importance of the safety in school zones. I will focus on mental health support. We need to prioritize mental health support for students. I will collaborate with the school districts to ensure that students have access to counselors and resources to address their emotional well-being. Reoccurring residential flooding. The frequency of the residential flooding is a pressing concern. To address the issues, I propose improved drainage infrastructure. We need to upgrade our drainage system to help handle the heavy and prevent flooding in our neighborhoods. Flood planning management. I advocate for stricter regulations on development in flood-prone areas and to prevent the natural flooding plains. Community preparedness. We should provide resources and training to help residents prepare for the respond flooding emergencies. I believe we should prioritize implementing this, especially while the flooding issues are being worked on to be resolved. Blight in our community. Blight not only diminishes the property values, but also erodes the sense of the pride of our community. To combat blight, I propose code enforcement strengthening code enforcement and negligent property owners accountable for maintaining their properties, community cleanup initiatives, organizing regular community cleanup events to remove the litter and improve the overall appearance of our neighborhoods. Incentives redevelopment, offering incentives to encourage property owners to invest in the recovery of the blight areas. A couple ideas of the community involves are bringing back an award system for residents to exceptional property maintenance, seasonal decoration competitions. In conclusions, I am committed to addressing these critical issues head-on by prioritizing school safety zones, mitigating residential flooding, and tackling the blight in our community. We can make our city a better place for all of us. I believe communication, transparency, and follow-through are the most important qualities a council member can have. I would give every effort to make sure that no voice goes unheard. Together, we can create a brighter, safer, and more vibrant future for our city. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Hold on, she's gonna stay up here.
Yeah, I know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go, like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna go in reverse order from the time that they spoke. So we'll have Margaret stay up there if you don't mind.
Okay.
And then from the council members, we'll take 1 or 2 or maximum 3 questions each from all of us combined, not each one 3 questions. And then from there, for the candidates, if you could do me a favor, again, I'm not gonna time you guys, so I can allow you to be free to answer it, but keep it within a minute or 2, 2.5 minutes max, please.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll have my timer guy here get on that. So, okay, so we'll go ahead and start with questions from council members.
Council Chair? I'm going to have the same question across the board.
Okay?
Margaret, and you'll be able to answer this however you'd like.
Okay.
And there is no right or wrong answer on this. My question to you is, what do you believe the role is as city council woman or member if you were to be appointed? And can you see yourself working alongside the administration and this council body here?
Yes, I can. I can see myself. I've talked to every single one of you and had different conversations with every one of you. Yeah, I can see myself, and something that's important for a council member to have is to have ears to listen to what the residents of Dearborn Heights.
Sorry, that was not you, meaning you're done. But my first part of the question is, what do you believe the role is as a council member?
To listen to the residents.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
To listen to the residents and to hear them out.
Council Chair.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Right. First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming tonight, and she brought her own cheerleader, her husband. I'd like to encourage people who are younger than myself. There's only one person in the room, I think, that's older than me, or at least my age. And I really appreciate your concern with the blight. Have you got any suggestions for code enforcement on blight?
I live in the South End, and like there's so much blight. Like I take my dog for a daily walk, and I see it every day. Just if what am I trying to say? A solution or something is to have the ordinance officers to go through and do sections a week or sections at a time, so that way they can combat it and it will start showing initiative for them. And also get the community involved. Like I suggested, my grandmother won an award for her beautiful yard years ago, and that's something that could give people initiative to help combat that.
Thank you.
Councilman?
Thank you, Margaret, for coming, and as a fellow South End resident, and we need women on the council, so I'm glad you applied. What do you think about strictly enforcing our rental ordinances and requiring those rental houses to be up to code, to be in the name of the renter and so on?
Yearly inspections would definitely help. I think there's a 5-year one, if I'm not mistaken. 3 years? Okay, I thought it was 5. To come in and to do a yearly inspection to make sure that they're following through, that they're coded, that they're keeping up with the properties. I have a rental that lives next door. If you would have asked me that question a couple of years ago, I'd have told you a different answer. But she's keeping up with her property. She's doing a wonderful job, better than the guy that bought the house next door to me. But yearly inspections to make sure that it's done properly and kept up with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Council Chair?
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My question is going to be the same for all the candidates. It's not a long question, but it's on city council, we're asked to approve literally millions of dollars worth of issues of funding for the city. And it's no secret that school/traffic safety is a very main concern. Our flooding issue is a very, very big thing in our city. Our tree trimming and removal, and our ordinance department, or lack of number of officers for our ordinance department to fight blight and rental problem issues. Now, these things affect tens of thousands of people in Dearborn Heights. And recently, the city, within the last year, invested over $3 million into a golf course. And there might be some more work to be done on the golf course. But my answer is a yes or no question to all the candidates. Would you approve any funding, any more funding, not even a dollar, toward the golf course until all these other issues are solved in the city?
That's a hard question, Tom. With a yes or no, I can't answer to be honest and truthful and transparent, I cannot answer that as a yes or no.
I respect that response. You know
Because
that? I do.
I can't, because everything else, our residents, the golf course is always going to be there, right? We're always going to have it, as far as I know. That's something. but our residents and the voices of everybody here and everybody on Zoom, we have traffic issues. These are putting people's lives at risk. I can't answer that honestly.
Well, what I'm basically what I'm asking is, you'd put money into something else besides these four major things?
What do the residents want?
What do the residents want?
I love you,
That's
Tom.
gonna be that's gonna be brought up quick.
Okay.
Believe me, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Dana.
Sorry, Dana.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'm
All
checking
right,
for Dana
next up,
also.
Ned, come on up. Anybody have any questions for former Councilman Ned DePegan?
Council Chair.
Councilman?
So you have a lot of years of, a lot of degrees and a lot of years in planning and so forth. You were very vocal and helpful with our tree ordinance and our situation where we had removal of trees without permits in certain areas. What do you see as the main issue going forward for the city in the next year or so?
Well, I wish the city would adopt my tree ordinance, then I'd sleep easier. I think the most important thing is most people don't realize, even people running for office, they run for office talking as if they didn't realize the charter in the city of Dearborn Heights is strong mayor, weak council, something similar to Dearborn, making promises about things they have no control over. Like, who knew we're going to get people to work on Friday? That's never going to happen because Mayor Paletko made a deal with the unions that if they ever go back to work, they have to get a 30% raise. So all this talk about they're going to go back to Friday. So we need a charter change. We need a charter commission. That's something I would like to be on. I have as a candidate, no intention to run for city council ever again. But if there was ever a vacancy, I'd apply like I'm doing now. But more important, the most important question is we need a charter commission to fix the problems we have that are administrative. Talking about things you have no control over is ridiculous.
Thank you. Again, council members, let's try to keep it to no more than 2-3 questions total, please.
Yeah.
So if one council member, if we get more than that, then I'll just pick the top, the first 2 or 3 that
I'll
ask
try to
questions.
be much more brief. I forgot to mention I'm a
Councilman-
50-year resident of Dearborn Heights.
Ned, you heard my question.
I've been here a long time.
Would your answer be yes or no?
To tell you the truth, in order to answer that question, I don't know what the terms of the agreements were. I'm not a lawyer, but I like to read the agreement to tell me whether it's been followed or whether they spent too much, probably, or not enough. So I don't think you can answer that question like that. I know it's a serious issue. I think we ought to change our name to the City of Parks. No city's got as much parks in it as we do. Thank you. I hope that
Well, no,
satisfies.
I was just asking if you would put money into the golf course before these other issues were solved.
As I mentioned, I thought it was a smart deal. You couldn't buy the 2 houses on either side of me for the price we paid for that. So it was a fantastic deal. Whatever $1.5 million, what was that number?
1.8 million.
What it turned out to be, I'm an opinionated person, let me tell you, but I have no idea whether we spent too much or not enough, unfortunately.
Mike, thank you so much, Council Chair. My question is going to be the same question to everybody. What do you see the role as being a city council member? And can you see yourself working with the administration and this council body?
Absolutely, I know what that is. The most important thing the council does is once a year when we look at the budget, and we tear that budget apart by item by item by item. For me, if the item was bigger than the one from the previous year and it was greater than the cost of living, I wanted to know why. And if all of a sudden it was 30% bigger, and I'd say, well, police chief, why is that 30% bigger? Oh, we're buying 15 cars this year. So that's the most important thing we do. Most of what's done here publicly, everybody sees. It's not very enlightening whether you approve the Crestwood High School parade on Saturday. It comes on it should be approved whether you approve it or not. You know, there are silly issues that come before you. The most important thing is the charter and the changes that are required to do what you need to do, and the budget. That requires getting together an agreement. For example, it's very important. Tom Barry said, why $40,000 for ammunition? Why are you spending so much in this community? Well, actually, that's one time I remembered everybody studied that issue and said, no, it's going to be 20,000. That happened very rarely.
Okay. Thank you, Ned.
All set.
Any other questions? We'll take one more question.
All right, Council Chair, first of all, I'd like to thank you for being a Marine, and I like history as well as you.
For you, Ned.
I agree with you about the charter being very important. This is to you, Ned. I'm complimenting you
I'm
first.
sorry.
Okay, I agree with you about the charter and the budget. If you had a choice between the two, which would be your most important priority?
Probably the charter, because the budget goes along pretty much automatically, unfortunately. The charter is much more important. Ask Abdul Haq, he probably can give you a lecture on it. I don't claim to be a charter expert, but I know what we do. Most of it is perfunctory. And if you want a definition of that word, just figure it out.
I know.
Okay. Thank you, Ned.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up.
Okay,
Okay.
please go ahead.
So I'll ask one this time. So, Mr. Abdul Haq, everybody knows you.
So you waited to bait me.
No, I just try to keep it as even as possible. I know you've been committed to the council for a long time. You've showed up to many, many meetings.
25 years.
But I also know you as a little bit controversial.
That's
obviously.
That is true.
Yeah. So with that being the case, what do you feel is the role of a council member? Because some would argue controversial, some would argue abrasive, I would argue you get in the way of getting things done. And I'm serious in this question. Not you specifically. I'm talking about in general as far as personality is concerned. Mm-hmm. What do you feel is the role of a council member? Because there's a little fine line between working with administration or working against administration, and there's also the role of being checks and balances.
Okay. This guy took my question, by the way, so this is our question.
Good question.
My question verbatim.
You guys baited me, both of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for the question. It's a great question. First, the role of a city council member is to be respectful, to be smart, and have a vision and understanding on what's in front of him or her, which going to be discussed and a decision going to be made. And have to put any personal differences or interest outside of the room before you enter here. And have to work with people who you agree with or disagree. Because at the end of the day, we take an oath to serve the public and to respect the charter and the Constitution of the state of Michigan. And if we cannot do that with all honesty and truthful, we shouldn't be on the city council. Yes, I am controversial because I say it as it is, and I am very direct with my comments. And I will not tolerate anything if I see it is wrong. And I will argue to the end to make sure that either I am right or I am wrong. And if I am wrong, you know me, I apologize always, and I yelled for what is right for the residents.
Okay, thank you. We'll take two more questions from council members. Councilman Constant first.
Thank you, and thank you for applying, and thank you for being here, Mr. Abdul Haq.
Thank you.
We discussed and you mentioned, and everybody's talked about a charter revision. What would be the three top items you would like to see changed, revised, added to our city charter?
Thank you for the question. If you recall, Councilman Constant, I did put the resolution to create a group of people, of 3 council members and 3 from the public, to basically not to review the charter, because the charter, if you need to review it, it needs probably a vote by the public. But I ask for items to be amended. We need to amend several sections in the charter. The first one, I would like to amend what we call the employees who are part-timers for 6 months.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Just to be fair to everybody, we got to keep the answers as short as possible. Unfortunately, our councilman said for 3 things, so you got to use bullet points, and then council members and the audience can contact whichever candidate and get additional information.
Okay.
So please keep it short.
Basically, I would like to give the city council more power than just, look at things. I would like to establish ethic commission, and I would like to basically have more power in the hands of the administration to hire people. Instead of just 6 months, they should be hired on term of 1 year, and if they are proven to be very good people, and with the concession of the unions, those people should be hired permanently.
Okay, we'll take one last question. Who has a question?
I'm going to ask one last question. I think I'm going to ask a question that's,
You can ask about the golf course if you...
No, I think that's a pointless. No. I do not want to have that discussion up here whatsoever. I don't think any of us should be.
Okay.
My question to you is, and you know what, and it's going to be personal to you, because I know the question that I asked that Dave respectfully took from me. My question is, and since Dave was kind of straightforward, I'm going to be a little straightforward as well.
Go ahead.
There is, we're going to address the elephant in the room. You said it yourself, you're very direct, you're very up forward, and I respect that, I truly do. But also as a role of the council member, you have to, even despite the check and balances, you kind of have to work with the administration. If appointed, can you see yourself being able to put your differences aside and actually working with the administration?
Absolutely. I am a very reasonable person, very open-minded, and if you guys remember, I worked with the late Paletko when I was a treasurer, with all transparency and everything he brought in. I did either object because of a reason, or I approved it because it was the right thing to do.
Very simple one question as well. This is your 4th or 5th time being appointed somewhere in the city? Zoning board, city council?
I was on the chairman of the commission, on the zoning board, and the treasurer and the city council. And I think I'm looking forward to be appointed again because I am very good at what I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulhaq.
Thank you. Do you
All
have
right.
any question?
No, we're at 3.
Yes or no?
Thank you.
Thank you for not responding. I got no question for you.
I got a question for you, former councilwoman, council chair to Denise Malinowski. I enjoyed working with you while on council. Found you to be honestly a fair person, and you ran the council well too. There's a little controversy that's been thrown around. Do you select, and I know my opinion, I'm just going to keep it to myself for right now. Do you select a person that's in the elections right now, or do you get somebody completely new? I know what you said, but prove to me why you feel it should be somebody that's already as a part of the elections coming up in November.
My support for Mobaydoun says it all. The reason I supported him is in the election we were in together. When there was a vacancy, he was the 5th person, so he didn't get on council. So I only felt it was fair to go back to those election results.
I remember you saying
and
that.
pick the next person. this election is so fresh. I mean, people haven't changed their mind in the last several weeks. I mean, it's obvious where it's going now anyways. And I do think that the residents have spoke and said where people should place in line, and I don't see that changing.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Any
a
other
que-
questions?
I have a question,
Chair?
Denise.
Well, last time,
Hi,
actually,
Tom.
Councilman, I'm gonna let him go ahead of you if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Beauty
Councilman
before age.
Wenzel?
Yeah, do you want to answer my question?
What's your, I was in the restroom, I missed that, sorry.
Oh, if, with.
Bud or Bud Light? No.
Many issues we have in the city, you know, the biggest being our school traffic safety, our flooding, our tree trim and removal, and our ordinance department fighting blight. Would you put any more money into the golf course? And I've had a lot of high hopes for this golf course, and I still do. No one has been more backing of this golf course and keeping it in the city than me. It might not seem that way. Some people paint a different picture of me. But before any of these other issues, school safety, our flooding issue, before those are resolved, and we, just say for instance, we had $1 million to spend, would you put that $1 million into the golf course if it needed it, or would you take care of these other main issues that affect tens of thousands of residents?
At this point, I think we've already given an ample amount of money to the golf course, and I don't think they've used it all, so they probably do have enough to accomplish what their goal is. I would give back to the residents. I think the residents deserve it. There's a lot of things that need to be taken care of in our city, and I think that would help a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My
Last question?
I'm gonna ask you the same question as that I'm gonna ask Mr. Abdulhak. There's no, we're gonna adjust the elephant in the room. It's no secret that there could be some controversy between you and the administration. If appointed here and to keeping things going smooth, can you see yourself working alongside the administration to making things pass by on? Absolutely.
I've worked with the administration that you're speaking of in the past very well. Everybody knows that. I'm not a person of controversy, and when it comes to city council, it's what's best for the residents.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Appreciate it. Next up.
I'll let you answer Tom's first.
Absolutely.
Tom's.
So Tom's question, just give him the abbreviated version, Tom. You heard that,
Oh, he
answer,
knows.
right? Yeah, he's heard that already.
No,
So
I
go
heard
ahead.
it. Well, first of all, public safety comes first. So any money that is available would go towards public safety first. School safety, those kind of initiatives, no matter for what it is, that would come first. Secondly, the golf course is still a city-owned property. City-owned property, you always got to invest back into your property. Yes, money has been given, and it's great. Mo Golf's there.
I'm a member.
A member, it's come a long way. When you say the golf course, the money's going towards the golf course. The golf course belongs to the city. As for the banquet and all that, that's being funded privately. But as for the golf course, I would love to see our schools implement golf. So we have golf leagues that are invested in the city, where we have youth programs, the youth in the summertime working at that golf course, interning, having initiatives in the summertime instead of being on the streets and causing trouble, to work at the golf course, to learn golf, having youth golf programs. But we can't have an unsafe golf course. But first and foremost, for any amount of money to go anywhere, public safety, children's safety, safety of our residents is number one. And that money will always go back to residents as number one.
Okay. I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What attracted you to run for office? I know you've been coming to council meetings for quite a while, and as a lot of you know, I'm pro-activism. I love people who are activists in the community, and put in the time and effort to show up here, if nothing else, to be entertained by us. So you've been coming here for a while, but what attracts you to take on a position as a potential council appointee?
So being involved in the city, just in general, there's a lot in the city that goes on that a lot of residents don't know or don't see. First and foremost, I want to start with my own property. When I bought a piece of property to build a house, the issues I had before this administration, the issues I went with and dealt with for, you were involved in most of them.
Right.
if it happened to me, it can happen to anybody.
Not creating the issues,
No, no,
helping
no,
you
no.
solve them, yeah.
Solving the issues, but if it happened to me, it can happen to anybody else. But being involved in the city where I visit people's homes on a regular basis and stuff, and seeing certain areas in the city that do need improvement, everybody deserves to be equal in Dearborn Heights. To me, there's no south end, there's no north end, there's Dearborn Heights. And I don't care if you own $1 million home or you own a $50,000 home, you're still a taxpayer, and to me, you're an equal bracket, everybody's equal. We just got to split the divide. The problem is when you say what got me involved is, engagement. There's no engagement in the city. There's a divide. There's no engagement. When you talk to residents one-on-one, you feel their anger, their frustration, everything. But when you come here, it doesn't seem that there's, and honestly, I'm going to say this. When was the last time a councilman or a councilwoman had a neighborhood group, went into a neighborhood, met with residents and sat one-on-one? Honestly, no. I mean, that's what you do the civic association. But I'm saying just in general. Well, I've seen you at a few events, but as in general, to go in a certain area, a couple blocks, say, hey, residents, come on, let's have a cup of coffee. Stress and hear their issues. Really nobody. Our flooding issues. It's just that I sit on the DDA in Westland. I see what Westland does with grants and lobbying and stuff. I'm sorry, Westland's not better than us. Taylor's not better than us. No city's better than us. We should be better than any city. And I think the city has so much potential, and I think me getting on council can push for that potential because I'm straightforward. I'm going to lean this way. I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be honest. We're going to work with everybody to have the residents' best interest in the end of the day.
Okay.
Dr. Chair.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
All right. Hassan, I see that you also have been involved in real estate, as have 4 people that currently are on the council.
Let me correct you. I'm involved in real estate. I own real
Investments?
estate. I'm not a real estate agent or by any
Okay.
means.
Well, my
Go ahead.
question to you, I believe you do have rentals.
I do not in the city of Dearborn Heights.
Oh, but elsewhere?
Yes.
Well,
And I have
you-
a 100% track record in every city I own.
Well,
a
your
home.
opinion is still valuable. I'm wondering how you would feel about us instituting a deal where someone who owns 3 properties or more should be responsible for the looks of the property that is being rented.
Absolutely. One thing I'm completely for is putting an initiative for rentals. For example, you own a rental property, ordinance goes by your house, grass is not cut, I should get issued the ticket. Because if I get issued the ticket, I'm going to pay that ticket, I'm going to take action. Because when you hit people with fines and hit them in their pockets, they're going to act where it's not going to happen again. Secondly, about somebody asked about, I'm gonna answer this too. I think Mr. Constant asked this question about rental caps and all that. Rental property should not just be a moneymaker in the city. You come in a community, you're supposed to respect that community. I agree with inspection rentals. I agree with CFOs. If the person does not maintain the property, the landlord should be taken to court. The landlord, I'm not saying the tenant, the landlord should. Because in that contract, if you just rent a house out just for profit with no contract, no checklist, nothing, you're just out there for profit. Honestly, we don't want you in our city. Because if you're a good landlord and you take care of your properties, these questions should never be asked.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Saab.
I just want to ask my
Sure.
very simple
Quick question. Okay,
Very
quick
simple question.
And
The
quick
same
answer,
question that
please.
I've
Absolutely.
asked, what do you believe the role of as a city council member, and could you see yourself working alongside the administration and the council?
Absolutely. The role of a council member is to serve the public, to work in the best interest of the public, to listen to the public, to engage with the public, to get the public's response and their needs and their wants. That's who in the end we all work, you guys all work for, the public. And absolutely, I can work with anybody. Everybody can have different opinions, everybody can have different mindsets, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the best decision in the city's interest. And not the best decision for just tomorrow. It's the best interest for the generations to come we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saab.
Thank you.
And who was next?
Bial.
The young, honorable Mr. Hamoud,
Okay.
No
future
honorable.
Obama.
Councilman Constant, you had a question at the last one, so I'll allow you to go first.
Thank you. We talked about, well, thank you all, thank you for coming. You have been involved in the community. You did run for office, and you worked for the Secretary of State and were active in the community. The charter, revisions for the charter, and this is kind of a tough question for you. Maybe it's not really your area, but what do you see going forward? So the balance of power, really between the council and the mayor, what do you think would be the priorities and changes, if any, to the city charter?
You gave me that question? No, we've had long conversations about the charter for the city of Dearborn Heights, and years ago discussed your experience with it or your father's experience with it and the needs of the city. I think compared to other cities across Michigan, we have a fair balance between the council and the mayor. I don't think that is something we would need to directly change in the charter. I do believe that the charter does need to be opened up. I know it's a discussion we've had for a reason. And I know that it's not something I could do in that 4-month period. No one can, because it does need to go to the residents. But I'd be happy to help enable that process and begin that process, because there are some critical changes that need to happen. Just at the basics, our city needs to be updated because there's a lot of grandfathered in clauses that are not up to date with modern Michigan code. And that includes how our properties are handled and how our internal structuring for our admin goes, an appointment process and so on.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman
Mr.
Bidun?
Hammoud, how you doing? Thank you so much.
Good, how you doing?
My question to you is, I know you recently ran for state rep. You're now coming for this appointment for city council. Do you have aspirations seeing yourself running for city council in the near future? Or do you still see yourself maybe potentially running back at the state level? And I only ask that question is because I want to know where this position stands.
Like I said, the reason why I ran for office last year was because I was looking for a way to serve in a greater capacity. That's why I'm applying for this position. I don't have intentions to run for office anytime soon. I'm looking to serve, and in whatever way I can.
I think personally you do a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Okay,
that.
thank you, Mr.
Good job
Hammoud.
with that.
Did you want to ask me that question you ask a lot of?
Yeah, and the question is, what do you see? I know you wrote it down, that's why I didn't ask it to you, but, I wasn't gonna let you get you
I was
two,
working.
man. No, I saw you guys write, and you guys ain't getting that question. Nope, you were both getting different questions.
Then bring it on.
I'm just joking. My question was that you answered my question.
Okay.
Council Chair, all the candidates know my question. If they want to answer when they come up, they
If I
can
answer Councilman Tom's question in regards to the golf course or the other items?
I'll gladly take other questions, but I'll answer this very briefly. I know for a long time the city of Dearborn Heights has operated as a silo, as in most of our funding came from our residents and no real other place. That's changed over the last couple of years. I do grant writing, and it's important to me that we're looking at grants and other opportunities to bring funding in so we can allocate that those resources to all the issues you've mentioned. That being said, I do believe in investing in recreation, and I want to make sure that any funding we do allocate towards that provides the greatest good to the most residents. Two issues and two examples I can think of right now are, I know we're working on getting a splash pad down near the Richard A. Young Center. That'd be something I'd want to invest in. And of course, the Van Humen Park where I proudly got splinters growing up. I know we need to be putting some funding behind that, and that's, being torn down now. So looking forward to making that a priority on the recreation side.
Okay. We'll take the next candidate. Who would that be?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal. Thank you. I have it right? Is it you? Okay, come on up.
All right, hit me with your questions.
All right. I'll ask a question. I know you've worked with many different elected officials, and I looked at your resume. Pretty good resume, by the way. Pretty intense.
Appreciate it.
How do you feel about working on the council? So some would argue, I don't agree with it, because I believe, my personal opinion, is local government is probably the most important government, in my personal opinion, but that's me.
Definitely.
But how would you feel having worked with government, at a much higher level, okay? Not as an elected official, but just in different positions with different candidates. How do you feel about working on the city council level, which is more what I always like to call kitchen table conversations or kitchen table issues that maybe at the federal or state level are not as important? How do you feel you'll be able to transition from that to this? And I know you're very passionate, so I give you that.
No, I appreciate. Wonderful question, actually. For me, when I worked with, for instance, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, I was one of her caseworkers as well, working on IRS issues, individuals that had issues with the IRS, or maybe had, a roof that was leaking that they needed help and resources to reach out, what organizations can help them out, or what federal agencies or local state agencies that we could pass them along to. And I think, truthfully, the experience that I've had on the federal and state level prepare me for this role, because I know all the different state agencies. I know all the different federal agencies. I am able to tell a resident if they need, if they need a certain issue addressed, that I'm able to pass them along to the agency that could appropriately, provide them with resources. And I think that's really what's lacking. A lot of residents come, they're very passionate about the issues, but they're not receiving the answers. And I believe I'm very well equipped to answer some of these questions. And if I don't have the answer, I would let folks know that I truthfully can't answer this question, but I'm willing to listen and find a solution.
Okay. And I understand you have access to a local attorney that can help you out just in case.
Yes, absolutely. Jude is wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions here?
Council Chair,
Councilman?
thank you, first of all, for applying and for coming, Mr. El-Kabi. And I agree with Councilman Abdullah. You do have a very impressive resume. It's important that you be able to work, a person that can work with everyone, listen to other people's opinion and not be, divisive. You feel you can do that on the city council?
That's really one of the main reasons I decided to run for office, is because, I've, not to disparage anybody in particular, but there's, tension, and Mo and Dave, did bring up, tension that's happened in the past, not to name or put anybody under the spotlight. And, I see myself as an independent voice. I could work with everybody. I've worked with the different candidates that are running right now in the past, spoken to them about their vision. I've worked with many of you individually in my capacity with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell or Rashida Tlaib. I've been I'm a product of this community, and I don't really see myself creating any tension or wanting to add to that. I want to be able to sit down with everybody and find solutions to the problems that we face.
Thank you.
Council Chair?
A different opinion is not automatically an enemy. So that's always been my belief.
Exactly.
So if somebody disagrees with me, I'm okay with that, and I disagree with them, I'm okay with that.
Definitely. If I disagree with somebody, it's not saying they're my enemy. I'm the kind of person
You just have
that
a different
approach it.
opinion.
Exactly.
Councilwoman?
Yes, you have a fantastic resume.
Thank you.
And I see you as a mediator. And I'm wondering, what would be your first priority if you were to get on council in a short period of time?
So for this term?
Right.
For this term really is to prep our city to be able to apply to more federal and state level grants. I understand how the appropriations process goes about every year when the city revises its budget and proposes, different line items for different communities. When I worked with Congresswoman Dingell, I was one of the individuals that would take these letters of support or write these letters of support to be able to, provide support to this municipality, for instance, Dearborn Heights or Livonia or whomever, to be able to seek the grant funding for certain specific projects, including Dearborn Heights. I believe a few years ago, we provided $1.4 million for the design work for the basin that's going to be built on Power Street. So I'm very familiar with the projects that the city has sought in the past, and looking forward to help the city seek more federal funding, because honestly that's the way we we don't want to add any more tax burdens on the residents, so we want to be able to find federal funding to supplement that, so you all don't have to come and yell at the council members because their tax bill increased.
Okay, and then we'll make the last question Councilman Tom's question. You want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say no. I have to answer that. I think the project of the golf course and the trajectory of where it's going is something that we all should be proud of, right? We want a world-class golf course that people from different areas could come and visit and create like a bustling downtown area in that region. That's all what we want. In the past, this county designated a DDA for that area, Downtown District Authority, and we were all very hopeful and wanting to see, more businesses come to that area. And I think this is a start. Would I push for more funding for the golf course? I believe they have enough ample funding at the moment with the millions of dollars that have been allocated for that project. And I think it's looking beautiful at the moment. I don't think there's need for more funding for that project specifically. But that's why I said I want to be able to seek more federal and state funding so we could supplement the project that you brought up, public safety, blight, road bumps, speed bumps for reckless driving, and, different traffic, I forgot the term exactly, but for where the school districts are, different stop signs and whatnot to ensure that, our students are safe and protected in their own safe haven and environment, really. So short answer and long answer is no, I would not be pushing more funding towards that project because I believe they have the ample funding at the moment. But if that comes up, there's ways for us to find funding on the federal level and the state level as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alkabi.
Thank you. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Next up, Roxana Martin.
I know, right? It's a reverse role here.
So I'll start with the question.
Mine's simple.
Go ahead.
My quick question is, Roxanne, thank you so much for coming out here. I actually loved the way you spoke, but I'm going to have to also ask the tough question. The tough question is, being on council for almost the last 3.5 years, I don't think I've seen you in the council chamber once. And I only asked that question, where does the aspiration come from? And then maybe it was, you simply went online and you saw the vacancy and said, you know what, maybe I do like this.
Yeah, no, actually, it's a great question, and no, I have not attended city council meetings. But what has, sparked my interest is recently I purchased a puppy. And as I'm out walking the puppy in my neighborhood, I'm looking around and I'm realizing that the south end of Dearborn Heights is not what it was. And to go to the park where I walk my dog, there's broken glass everywhere. There's cigarette butts everywhere. There's marijuana butts everywhere. How can you take your child to this park to play? And there are parents there all the time, right, with their kids. And it concerns me. So it's like as I'm walking and I'm seeing things, I now take a bag with me to pick up the glass, to pick up the cigarette butts. And it's not right to, let this happen and think that it's okay to put our kids there and they're safe. They are not safe. Okay. So that's what has sparked my interest. We need to have some change. We need to have some responsibility. We need to have people in place that could get maybe, some days together to gather some people to go and do a park cleanup, a city cleanup, something.
That was a great reply. I mean, really, I just want to know what sparked your interest in it, and I thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Roxana, when I first received your letter of intent and resume, I can tell you based on my, not necessarily background, just the way I was impressed.
Thank
I mean,
you.
for somebody to take the time to put a very nice letter together and very nice resume, I was impressed. And then initially, you guys have made my job very difficult, by the way, because initially I thought
that's our job,
and
right?
and I'm being blunt and direct and transparent. Initially, I thought I don't know who she is. I don't know much about her. But then I read, oh, okay. Then you came and spoke, and I was honestly really impressed. So even if nothing else, I hope you could have a good run in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I did like your positive attitude and your spunk and your commitment. I did like that. But I also have, in the same token, a little bit of a concern in that because it's really, I don't know the exact count off the top of my head. The clerk maybe can better tell us, but I think it's only like 5 more official council meetings that are left, maybe 6, obviously, at most. And so with lesser experience, but I do like your background.
Yes.
I got to add that on.
Yes.
How do you feel you'll be able to still serve the residents versus somebody that is maybe more experienced?
Sure, absolutely.
And when I say more experienced, I'm not talking about just in terms of having been in office, but maybe just activism at the very minimal.
I didn't get to where I am in my life for being an underdog, right? So I had to claw my way up. And again, there are some great candidates here that have tons of experience. And as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing here, right? Truly. But you know what? What I am is I am enthusiastic. I'm dependable. I am a quick learner. And I think that I can bring a different perspective to the council.
Okay.
I think you're also amazing. You do a great job replying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a future in something around here.
Sales. You should be in sales.
No, we have enough.
Well, she's in mortgage now.
Councilman.
Thank you, Council Chair, and I agree with the other council members. Your resume is very impressive, and you work in the eyeglass industry. I had a good friend who was a optometrist and had a small business. And
Okay.
it's a increasingly competitive business. So what would you like to see done to help small businesses that are opening up and growing in Dearborn Heights. For example, food trucks. We've recently enacted and streamlined the process for someone who owns a food truck to be able to do business during, like, for example, Ramadan or other times. What, would you like to see the fees remain the same? Would you like to see one central office, help on the website? Anything that you can think of that you can suggest?
Sure, great question. Regarding, small businesses in, the Dearborn Heights area. Again, as I look around and I'm driving down Van Born, right, I'm looking at all of the empty business spaces. Those were filled 10 years ago. But what has happened? You have an area where it doesn't get a lot of recognition. It doesn't have a lot of money. So I think what we need to do is we need to promote the area, promote these small businesses. Maybe, when we do grand openings and, we try to get the word out even more. But the key thing is to keep people coming back, reinvesting, and we have to figure out a way to do that. And if I can help, I will. I'm an advocate. I promote small businesses. Again, I'm a small business, a single physician, practice. And it's tough. You've got competing businesses. So it's like you have to lower your prices. You have to be competitive. So I think that we just need to do a better job promoting, people coming into the city for small businesses.
Okay.
Thank you.
We've hit the 3 questions, but just a yes or no only for Councilman Tom's question.
Of course, okay.
I don't want to get in trouble with Councilman Tom.
So simply put, I'm going to say no. I think it's a fabulous golf course. I think it's going to do what it's intended to do, but we need to focus on the city and getting, kids and parks and everything up to speed.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Mr. Wissam Fadlallah. Let's start with Councilman Tom Wenzel with a same question.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
As I live and breathe, we live in a democracy. This panel has elected to help the golf course and voted in all the funds for the golf course. Regardless what's happening with the second business that's operated on there, I don't want to get into that. But who am I to judge you guys? You guys decided on this, all of you. Whether you voted for it or you didn't vote for it, I remember you didn't vote for it. So as the allocation of funds, the funds should be allocated where it's needed to be. You guys decide where the fund needs to be because your only job is to serve the public. So you know where the funds needs to be. If I get the chance to be on there, then I'll be part of that team. It will be team effort decision that's going to be made. So to answer your question at this time, I don't know if any funds needed for the golf course because I'm not a politician. I didn't study everything that you guys went through. So that is my answer for you.
Thank you.
Next.
Just for full disclosure, I just wanted to bring that up. There has been no additional requests for funding for the golf course. So just to make it transparent and clear, there's, there's not been any.
He wants
but the councilman right here, councilman's got a very good question, just a hypothetical. It's a good question, though. But I just want to make it clear, there's been no request.
Okay.
This doesn't pertain to the golf course, it's the 250-acre site itself.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Next up, Councilwoman.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question, Mr. Fadlallah, that I asked Mr. Saab. I know you have rental homes. How do you feel about enforcing regulations that make the landlord be responsible when blight is a situation for more than 3 properties?
Okay, I am so proud to have owned rental homes in the city of Dearborn Heights since 2008 when the economy crashed. I was very fortunate to get into this line of work. And what we've done with the building department over the years, we've taken all these properties that they're run down, and we have these properties, put good families in them, brought some families into the city. We brought professionals, nurses, doctors, lawyers. I have tenants from all over the cities. They came here. So I'm so proud to have done that. Now, there's a system in place that the building department, and this is my profession, I've been doing this so long, I'm a real estate professional, I'm licensed, Dave knows that. So, there's a system in place with the building department that every 3 years, a rental property needs to be inspected, unless the tenant moves out. If the tenant moves in today, he moves out next week, it has to be re-inspected and recertified. And that's what I've been doing all these years, 25 years doing this. So, your question was what? Do they need to be inspected? They are inspected.
No, the fact that would you be in favor of there being a regulation made that people who own more than 3 rental areas be responsible, especially for the blight aspect of a
So
property?
you'd be responsible versus the tenant?
If the lawn's not mowed and it's disrespecting the whole neighborhood.
It is unfortunate, I just had a run with the city, and our city attorney knows about that, myself, is there's a system that needs to be implemented, and I've worked on that with the ordinance department over 10 years ago. Until now, they haven't done that. There has to be an electronic notification system that notifies the landlord immediately, as soon as a violation is there. They have tablets, they have everything, they have our email addresses. That address that we had in question, me and Mr. Attorney over there, all he had to do, just the ordinance guy, press the button, I get a notification, your property is in violation, I get on it. To answer your question, no, if I have 1 or 2 or 10 or 70 properties, in this case, it doesn't make a difference. 1 or 3 properties don't make a difference. There have to be a system in place. And I worked on that, and I'm trying to advocate for that. So.
I appreciate that. And in fact, David, I don't know if anybody knows, but he had to come in all the way from New Orleans.
Yeah, Nadia's in surgery, and I
His
have to
wife is in
leave, and
surgery
I have
at
to go
this
back in
time.
the morning, so.
If we could just take a quick 10 seconds prayers to his wife.
Thank
Thank
you, I
you.
appreciate it.
Wish her the best of health.
Thank you, Dave.
Councilman Bidun was next.
Thank you so much, and speed recovery to your wife. I hope
Thank
she's
you.
doing okay, and safe travels back to New
No,
Orleans.
I'm sorry, it's supposed to be Ali Bidun, your son. That's who's speaking next.
Yeah.
Oh, he went away. He's
No,
gone?
he's sleeping
There he
now.
is.
Oh, there he is.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Little Bidun. Go ahead, ask your question.
Ali B. Ali B.
He's a
Ali B, go ahead.
Ali B.
Yep, same as his dad. Got better looks, thank God. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr. Fadlallah, and you have expressed to me that there has been some maybe back and forth from the administration and yourself. Do you see yourself being appointed to the seat? Do you think that you can be able to work alongside the administration with this?
Mr. Baidoon, as you know, I ran my campaign with honesty, integrity, and just to bridge the gap between the city council and the administration. I didn't ask for endorsement from the mayor's office, and you know that. I didn't ask none of you for endorsement, or anybody, or the police department. I worked with all of you in the past, and you know what I do. So I see myself working with the administration, not because I agree with what they do or disagree with what they do. We live in a democracy. We have to agree to disagree and disagree to agree. This is how it is,
Yeah.
okay? So I'd like to bring peace and reason.
Thank you for that. Great
Okay?
response.
And I appreciate you asking the question. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I think we've done about 3, so was there 3 questions to you already?
Can I fly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tom, you have anything?
No, I'm good. You answered my
Okay,
question.
thank you very much, Mr. Fadlallah.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Rachel Lapointe. Come on up.
It's a long time to sit in the chair.
Tell me about it.
So I want to ask a question. So Rachel, like some others, some other candidates, you are, needless to say, a little on the controversial side. But in a way that I kind of like.
Thank you.
Because I like people that will ask a question that maybe is not popular. I like people that will sometimes ask a question that maybe might sometimes upset somebody.
I just want to add one thing for you, Council
Yeah.
Chair, that I don't think the councilman or myself in any way, shape, or form using the word controversial
No, I
is a
Not
bad
in a
thing.
negative.
No, no, oh,
It's
no,
not
I
negative.
understand.
We don't mean it.
No.
It's more of just.
Understood. It's,
Yeah.
Look, there's an elephant in the room. We're addressing the elephant in the room.
love the elephant
That's
in
all
the
we're
room.
Yeah, it's when I say controversial, basically controversial means some people are gonna like it, some people are not gonna like it, and I don't know the way I operate. I say what I feel. I know sometimes people don't like it, and I'm okay with that because I'm just saying how I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. But in the same token, like some other candidates, this might become possibly a challenging situation because with such a short time period, you may not have enough time to be able to work so the kinks out between yourself and maybe some others that you might be trying to work with. With that being the case, what's your strategy to be able to do this in 5 or 6 meetings?
Well, I think that's the key, right? It's only 5 or 6 meetings. And, you know, we can do anything if we put our minds to it. I think I'm somebody that tries hard to work with people. I can't always control what they may do or say or anything like that. I can only control myself, right? And I am approaching this from a place of doing the best job that I can and doing the best that I can to work with everybody, and approach it with professionalism. If I come to the table and somebody's not willing to meet me, that is what it is. And that would mean that I would need to figure out other ways to get the job done. I think there are ways to work with people that you don't agree with, but sometimes you have to figure it out another way. But it is only 5 or 6 meetings. So honestly, I don't foresee a lot of challenges in terms of having to work like on a big project or something like that. There's just not enough time for that.
Sure.
I think it's really just going to be about all of us being the adults in the room and working together, no matter who it is, right?
Right.
And kind of being a good example for our kids. And that's, you know, that's what I always try to do.
Well, I've always respected that you've been very involved and very active, as I've respected a lot of people have been active in the community, showing up to the council meetings. And again, sometimes me and you didn't agree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I have no problem with you disagreeing with me or agreeing with me, but I've always valued your activism, so thank you. Any other questions from
Council
council
Chair?
members? Councilman?
Just want to thank you for applying. Want to remind everyone that you did run and you were close. You were the next highest vote getter. Great presentation. What would be your priority? Let's say we decide to form a subcommittee for revising the charter, and you're on the subcommittee. What changes do you see, not specifically, but like in the balance of city government that you think would be a good improvement going forward?
Well, I think that the limits of a committee kind of limit my answers there, because a lot of the changes in terms of balance of power, I think, would require a full charter commission, right? I don't necessarily think we could address that specific issue through an amendment to the charter. If there were, regarding the balance of power in the charter, I think some of it might just be clarifying and detailing the responsibilities of council. I reviewed it to prepare for this whole process, and it's almost hard to figure out if you just read the charter what exactly council does. You know, there's the stuff about the budget. It's not like super detailed, like a list or anything. Like a lot of the mayor's responsibilities are pretty clearly outlined. So if that was something that could be addressed through an amendment, that might be something I would want to work on. I think in general with the charter, I would be interested in looking at something Zuhair mentioned, the ethics element of it, the anti-nepotism section of the charter, some of those areas to kind of maybe get that a little updated and make it clear what is and isn't ethical behavior. I know that's something that gets talked about a lot among the community. And it's something that ethics was my favorite class in college. So that wasn't like part of my major. So it's just, you know, kind of a pet, you know, passion sort of thing.
Council Chair?
Okay. Thank you.
I don't even
Thank
really
you.
have a question for Mrs. Lapointe, but I just want to thank you for your service. If you know one thing about Rachel, she's going to message you, DM you on Facebook on every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday about what's happening in the packet. She's like a young Abdul Haq.
I think I'm also a little bit of a young Ray Muscat, because he's been like that too.
Yeah, really.
No? Or Hermione
The difference
Granger.
is you can use the computer, Zuhair will call me. But really, I thank you for your services, and I know you really do your homework, and you really look through that packet, like you really dig deep, so
Thank
I
you.
think it's important that, you know, we shed some light on that for you as well. Thank you, Rachel.
And I would say to your past question, that is what I see the role of council being, is to look at those packets, because that's your meeting. You got to know that.
Yes.
So I mean,
I've been
your
asking
other
that, I've been
question,
asking
yeah.
that question, I'm waiting for the right answer, and for the answer that at least that I'm
That
thinking.
you have, see?
That I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
I mean, that would be a big thing, is to know what you're voting on, right?
lastly-
And then to listen to the residents and communicate with them.
And
Those would be the two
lastly,
biggest
to that
things.
young gentleman at the end there, a yes or no to his question.
Mr. Wenzel, you're not going to like my answer. I know that contract. We're contractually obligated to fix the parking lot, and that has not yet been budgeted. So if that were to come before council for a budget amendment, because it's not in the budget this year, I believe that I would have a duty to vote for it because it is part of the contract. That being said, in an ideal world, there's so many other priorities that I would put probably above that, but that parking lot's also a mess, so I wouldn't be opposed to fixing that either. But yeah, I think there's a lot more things that we got to work on.
Okay.
So it really depends, would be my answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And last, but definitely not least, Sue Kaminsky.
Okay, I know all the answers now.
You know,
So thank you.
me and Dave got the same answer. He's gonna ask you the same question that he probably asked Rachel, that I asked, so here, and Denise, he's gonna ask you.
You knew that, so.
Yeah.
So Sue, I know you served on the school board for a long time, and I believe you did a very good job. As a matter of
Thank
fact, I'll transparently say, when I walked into the voting booth, you had my vote.
Thank you.
And I think you're a very smart person that is very passionate about Dearborn Heights.
I agree.
In the same token, I know it's been public, you've not been too in favor of some decisions that have been made at the city. And I know you've had your opinion, pro or con, on the police department. And, of course, administration and the police chief, et cetera, have had a different opinion. How do you plan on working with the administration, having had this history, obviously, in the past? And just as importantly, how do you feel you'll be able to, because it's a two-part question, you'll be able to improve, because now you've had concerns and questions about the police department. How do you feel as a council member, in just 5 short meetings, you'll be able to bring forth some improvements to our great, I want to make it transparent, I still think we have a great police department, but make it even better.
So do I. So thank you for that question. And yes, I think I can work with administration. I've been up here talking many a times, and you've never seen me be disrespectful
never.
to anybody.
No.
I don't do that, and I would not. So I think I can work with anybody in any situation. I would like the opportunity just to share my opinion and to be heard.
And you have that right.
I think that is what, as a council member, your duty is. So I'm going to tie into Mo's question a little bit too. You're here representing the people, and we can't have 65,000 people up here, because if you think these meetings get a little out of hand, imagine what it would be like. So you're representing everybody, and I've been in that role as a school board member. I've been through some pretty volatile situations on school board, and I'd like to think that I was always the voice of reason. And I tried to facilitate everyone to collaborate and work together effectively. We don't have to be best friends. I don't have to go out to dinner with you. I have a lot of great friends.
Like that.
And my job would be to represent the citizens of the city and to work with administration and all of you together. And if you can't put yourself in that spot to work together, then you don't belong up here putting in for the job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question from the next council member.
Hi, Tom.
Thank you, Council Chair, and thank you for applying.
Thanks,
Good
Bob.
presentation. I like we do need another female on the council. You're not afraid to speak up. Same question, though, about what would you like to see structurally, if anything, changed regarding the, one thing we could do, some councils, they have a consent agenda. They go over the agenda beforehand, and then everything that is not controversial, they pass at the beginning. Anything that you can think of that you've been through school board meetings you would like to see change?
So I do like the consent agenda. I do like going over the topics at the study session so that when you get to the meeting, you're working as a collaborative group, you know, like a bunch of spokes on a wheel, and you're working together and not against each other. So no surprises at the meeting, so that you're planned, you know what you're going to say, you know how you feel about it. And that doesn't mean you have to agree on every single topic, because you wouldn't be doing your job if you did. But it means being able to discuss what you don't agree about in the study session so that you can get your idea out, and then as a group you can come up, you can come up with a unified, hopefully, approach.
Thank you.
Next council member with a question?
Would you like to answer the question, Sue?
So, Tom, you asked it in two different ways. So my first impulse would be to say the golf course has gotten enough money and that we don't need to give any more because we have other priorities. However, if not giving some money to the golf course, something came up and there was something that we had to do to move forward, would I want to negate the money that we've already put into the golf course and stop it from continuing to run? No. Do I want to give them an open checkbook to say, hey, go do whatever? No, because there are things like the child safety and the school zones and those things that need to take a priority, the rental houses, the inspections. So I'm answering it two ways. Initially, I would want to say no. They have enough money to work and do what they want to do and to get it successful. However, the unforeseen always comes up, and I would never want to stop the progression of that golf course to run because we've invested a lot of money.
Okay. Thank you. I believe we've had three questions, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
everybody.
Appreciate it, Sue. Thank you. First, I agree with Councilman Moore. I'm standing up for all of you guys. Thank you for applying.
You guys are making it tough.
Council Chair?
Hey,
Council Chair?
Zohair's giving out free gold.
Council Chair?
Yes, Councilman.
Lastly, probably not, but, I want to thank all the candidates, because I know what it's like to be up there. In 1995, I was in your same spot. I was going for a vacancy. And then I ran on the ballot in 1997 and barely lost the election by a few hundred votes. Then I waited 20 years to run again. But I know what it's like to be up there. It's not a joyride, and all of you that are candidates have very impressive resumes and all had some really good answers, and I thank you all for coming.
Yes.
Council Chair, I'll just add on to that. Similar to Tom, I didn't wait 20 years though. I was once, I was at a standstill, me and Zohair, and neck to neck. Finally, I told Zohair, I said, man, just move, Zohair, and he wouldn't move. But I know how it is, and I know how it is to just be there and interviewing and just having the butterflies the day before the appointment. Believe it or not, I think what we have is we're eight of them. We had 8 meetings where by the time it was December, there was no point of bringing it in the sun. But really, I know how it is, and I wish you all the best of luck. This is going to be a really, really tough decision. I thought I had my mindset, but definitely got swung. Going to have to make some phone calls. And
Just one second, let's just finish, Councilman.
and it's okay. Go ahead, Mrs.
So there's nothing written as far as how you make a decision. Each council member is just going to have their own ways. They may talk amongst each other, following the Open Meetings Act, obviously. They may talk with the candidates, or candidates may contact them, or residents may be calling, or vice versa. So there's no set rule for this. At the end of the day, ultimately, it's just up to each council member as far as how they vote. I can tell you for myself, I was looking forward to this because I thought this would be an easy way because honestly, there's a lot of good candidates. I went through all the packets.
Yeah, you made it very hard.
Yeah, so I was, first of all, excited, like Mr. Abdul-Haq said, that so many people are applying for these positions because, it's great to have that many people that want to do public service to this great city and country that we love. So that I was very impressed with. I'm also very impressed with the fact that we have 12 candidates here, which tells me that in the future, we have, whether some of you make it on this particular one or not, in the future, we have good potential council candidates. So I'm happy with that, having to step out as an old man, that my city will be in God wishing, in good hands. But what I am disappointed in, having been here, I mean, I thought this was going to make my job a lot easier. I'm going to use the process of elimination, and people are going to go up there and just totally bomb, and then it'll make it a little bit easier for me to make a decision. But I got to tell you, all of you guys, and I'm not just saying that, really, honestly and truly, all you guys did great. So this is going to be very difficult, but I do thank you for putting your name out there. It is not easy to be criticized and clapped for and booed for, et cetera, but I thank you, yelled at, pushed everything. But I thank you for putting your names forward. While doing this, I'm going to give an extra total of 5 minutes for total public comments, not 5 minutes each, total public comments, just in case somebody in the public wants to ask a question for possibly one of the candidates. Any other
Well,
council
I
members?
have a comment also, as the gentleman have said, and in reference to what Mo and Zuhair were talking about, myself and a gentleman from Tulane in 1920 wanted that vacancy as well.
1920?
I'm sorry, 2020.
Okay.
I've been around a long time. Okay, guys.
1920.
You didn't know I was that old, did you?
I was going to say, Councilwoman, who's your plastic surgeon? I'm going to the same guy.
Thank
You
you.
threw me off there, Councilwoman.
Well,
1920.
in reference, I backed off because I knew the two were going to be in the mainstream, but I ran the next year and I made it. So I want to encourage you all, if you don't get this, please consider running in the
Absolutely.
future in November of 2025.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Okay, so at this point, well, if you get up, if anybody wants to comment, even the candidates, as just a resident, that's fine, but I'm going to take a total of 5, 6, 7 minutes max.
5, 6, or 7?
No, not each person, total, combined. So please keep your comments to a minute, minute and a half total.
It's really not the comment,
15 seconds.
but just the reason Hassan Bazzi didn't show up because he lost a niece 24 years old to cancer. And I extend on your behalf and my behalf and the city behalf condolences to the family of Dr. Adam Harb and to the Bazzi family.
Yes, condolences.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll do a moment of silence.
Moment of silence for the doctor. God rest her soul. Thank you. Any other residents that would like to get up, either comment or ask a quick, and then the candidates would have to give a quick answer. I'm going to have a total of 7 minutes. I'm just because I want to stay on the role I've always had, which is giving people the opportunity to do public
She doesn't
comments.
want to get up unless we're going to force her up. Angela, ask your question about the cleanup in the trees. Let's just ask a question.
Well, it's got to be from up here because it's being taped.
Yeah,
please.
go ahead, ask your question. Because you asked me this question 3 years ago.
We've been working on Angela to try to get out of her box and be a little more transparent, and she had a hard time with that, yeah.
Well, what's the question you want me to ask Mo about the trees? They're still standing.
Yeah, I know. We're
Roger.
looking at Roger over there.
Or Roger.
We're working on it. We're trying to come up with a new resolution.
Any
for
questions about blight and
ordinance.
cleaning up and the streets and trash and glass like Roxanne was talking about while walking her dog? 'Cause I know you walk your dog everywhere.
I walk my dog everywhere. In fact, since the middle of August, go take a look at Beach Daily. From Kennedy all the way to the soccer entrance, I have cleaned it. Done, no glass. They finally cut the lawn this past week, so I went out Sunday, cleared all the grass off. It's been shoveled. There's actually a path of sidewalk
Just want to
there.
recognize Commissioner Kniezek one day received a phone call from Angela, and it was like 102 degrees.
And he went out and cut
And
the
he went out
grass.
there and he cut it with his own lawnmower, shirtless.
And I
It wasn't a
picked
nice view.
up off of Beach Daily, that quarter mile, I
Yeah.
picked up over 8 bags of trash, bins, all kinds of stuff.
And so Angela took it
It's
upon
clean.
herself to go out there and pick up
Well,
the trash
you're
on her
an
own.
Since
example
August.
to the community, so thank you, Angela.
Well, no, the kids, I mean, nobody realizes, I know that's a Wayne County road, and nobody realizes that is the only path the kids from Riverside have to walk from subdivision to subdivision. And I don't understand why nobody's taking the responsibility for our kids. And it's the only path even to get to the park, because I ride my bike. You know, I'm an avid bike rider. And that's not the only place. I came up here 5 years ago with a board, and everybody kind of looked at me like, boy, who is this lady? And the sidewalk on Warren Avenue still isn't fixed. It's impassable. My husband and I picked up a lady out of a wheelchair from the ground, and that sidewalk still looks the same. I just don't. I don't understand why there's not more of a hands-on approach. And it all starts with us as residents. I pick up bags of trash down my block every day, garbage comes. And I don't understand how people can walk in and out of their homes every day and have the same garbage sitting on the lawn, and they don't care. You live in this community, respect it. This is for your kids, this is our future. I don't understand it.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it. Any other residents or anybody in the audience that would like
How
to
about the
make,
gentleman that's a non-participant?
whoever would like to, you're
Has he
welcome to
got
come on
anything
up.
to say? Oh, is it really?
Nobody in the audience, I don't see anybody on Zoom that has a question or a comment? I don't see anybody, do you?
All right, meeting adjourned.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much to all the
Second.
candidates and best of luck.